Let us return to the bewildered entity known as the One, as countless worlds began to spring up around it. Time passed and life developed throughout the multiverse, and the One developed a curiosity. The state of it being the sole existing concept was now gone, and there was so much more to the multiverse for it to explore. With all this chaos, the One decided to create an acolyte to explore this new multiverse for it. The One created an astral being that went out and explored the multiverse, moving from universe to universe and contacting new cultures that had sprung up. This being had a name we would all one day come to fear at its mere utterance. His name was Unicron. The being known as Unicron quested forth into the multiverse and learned much on the behalf of the One. Now, I would remind you that the One was the combined aspect of order and chaos. One interpretation of order would be the idea that all is the same. The reality predating the Big Bang could, with this interpretation, be considered a time of order. In contrast, the sudden formation of realities following the explosive Big Bang could be interpreted as a form of chaos. That being said, Unicron indeed embodied the aspect of chaos that the One held. With chaos, Unicron could perhaps come to terms with and understand the great variety the multiverse had to offer, but this embodiment was a double-edged sword. Chaos could be interpreted as the absence of peace, a state of endless destruction and death that disrupts the lives of whatever chaos touches, and so, Unicron came to be a strong believer in entropy, the inevitable death of everything. Unicron was an immortal observer to the multiverse and saw lives be born only to die soon later. Stars would collapse, planets would crumble, and universes cease to be in this great realm of the multiverse. Unicron asked himself the same question I'm sure all sentient beings have asked. What was the point? What purpose was Unicron to have if everything ultimately faded away in the end? There was only one thing Unicron could do, an act of mercy upon the whole multiverse. Unicron would simply destroy everything to hasten entropy and ultimately destroy the multiverse. Unicron created beings to serve him known as the Dark Gods and proceeded to consume all of creation. This came to the attention of the One, who was worried about the destruction Unicron was inflicting on reality. The One sought to bring balance back to the multiverse and decided to create a counter to Unicron, a being that would embody order. Whenever Unicron consumed a reality, all that would be left was the Void. The only way to describe the Void is as a realm of nothingness. Unicron consumed a universe that we only know as the Old Realms. Unicron slept for a time in the void he had created where the Old Realms once were, but had unknowingly left fragments of the Old Realms still intact. These fragments interacted while Unicron slumbered and created a huge explosion that resulted in the formation of Primax 984.0 Gamma and related universes. Seeing the consequences of Unicron's actions, the One finally acted. He intervened by splitting Unicron in two halves. One half kept Unicron's mind and remained as Unicron, while the second astral being embodied the aspect of order from within the One. His name was Primus. However, to the disappointment of the One, Primus did not want to fight Unicron and instead went on his own separate way. Like Unicron created the Dark Gods, Primus accompanied himself with the Light Gods. Though they lived in peace, Primus began to suspect Unicron and his Dark Gods were, in fact, malevolent. Primus' theory was proven correct when Unicron attacked the Light Gods, slaughtering them all. Primus was now alone and without his friends, heartbroken. It was at this time that the One spoke to Primus and explained to Primus that his Light Gods had ascended into the Omniversal Matrix. The Omniversal Matrix was the afterlife for the gods of the multiverse and was located within the One itself. The One offered a deal with Primus. If Primus managed to destroy Unicron, Primus could enter the Omniversal Matrix and be with his people once more. Primus accepted the offer and thus began the Theomachy, or the war between Primus and Unicron. It should be noted that the One had no intention for Primus to succeed in his endeavor. What was needed in the multiverse was not necessarily the destruction of Unicron, but a balance between the forces of order and chaos. However, the One needed Primus to fight hard against Unicron, and to fight just as hard as Unicron would fight back to ensure that the balance would be in place. Primus managed his first victory against Unicron when he eliminated the Dark Gods that Unicron ruled over. However, Primus had difficulty when it came to actually fighting his brother Unicron. Unicron was better in actual melee combat than Primus, and often Primus would be beaten back by the Chaosbringer. However, what Primus lacked in being a warrior, he made up by being much more intelligent than Unicron. Primus saw that he was in a constant cycle against Unicron and that neither would overtake the other. So, Primus decided to take himself out of the equation entirely. Primus created a new strategy that would dominate the Theomachy. Primus would create a race of living creatures in his own image to destroy Unicron on his behalf. This strategy had a name. It was called the Grand Plan.